Today we talk about the paradox of leadership. And immediately, when we think about great leaders of history, we think about Jesus Christ. We think about Nelson Mandela. We think about Martin Luther King. We think about William Wilberforce. We think about Uriah Buzz Butler. And they all, at one time, were regarded as criminals. So what is the common denominator? I'll address that later. But what is the common denominator of a good and true leader? What do they all have in common? Is it IQ? And I beg to differ. Why? Sometimes it's not the most intelligent man. Sometimes the most intelligent man may fail at the job. Is it a job title? CEO, doctor? Is it a title? No. Because sometimes even in the title, it is proven that people, they are confident in their title rather than in their own leadership. So what is the true mark? Is it the willpower to succeed? Is it the emotion driven by love to guide people selflessly, despite the fact that you will be discriminated, despite the fact that society will pile stones behind you? What really motivates persons to take the lead? Now, I like to draw the parable of the good book called the Bible. The good book spoke about leadership and make a reference to two animals in particular, the eagle and the lion. Today I choose the lion. And everyone knows that I just love lions. I love lions. You'll see me all over going and petting these lions. But the good book, the Bible, spoke about the lion. And it even made a comparable of Jesus Christ. I mean, he spoke about being like the Lion of Judah. He didn't say the dog or the pit bull of Judah, but rather the Lion of Judah. Is the lion the tallest animal? No. Is the lion the fastest animal? No. Is the lion the strongest animal? No. Is the lion the most intelligent animal? No. But yet still the lion is the king of the jungle. What does that tell us? You have no excuse. He is not the fastest, not the tallest, not the strongest, but yet still he is the king of the jungle. Why? Maybe just because of his attitude and the willpower of the lion. Because when he sees an elephant, the elephant is much bigger than him. He could have been intimidated. But when he sees an elephant, this grand animal that is even more intelligent than he is, what does he see? Food. So maybe it is just the mindset of the lion that makes him the king of the jungle. Now, unfortunately, we could only read about some of these great men. Today on set, we will welcome a leader. Earlier when I spoke about men like Jesus Christ, when I spoke about men like William Wilberforce, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Uriah Buzz Butler, today we mark history because we have one of those men that sit with me, and I have the honor, the esteem to sit with Watson Solomon Duke, the Honorable, the Deputy Chief of Tobago House of Assembly, the political leader of the PDP, Progressive Democratic Patriots. And you sit here with a long accolade. I can call out many things. Your 12 years as the president of the PSA. 12 years of presidency speaks for itself, representing the working class people. And I tell you, if you were in the day of Butler, a statue should be placed in Trinidad and Tobago for our young children to know who you are. You will mark the pages of history. Now, when we speak about leadership, very seldom do we understand what it really takes to be a real leader.
Sure.
Mr. Duke, I'm going to get right into it.
Please.
What called you to this? What was your calling?
It's an interesting question, one that will engage the mind of the populace and even the individual from time to time. What would make a man or a woman push themselves to the forefront of a battle to represent others? I think it has to do with a sense of oneself. There is a statement that says, you must do unto others as you have them do unto you. There were moments when I had experienced great representation, and I still do from time to time, by good persons. And there are moments when I long for good representation, and none came. In those moments when you can't find a good representative, you are forced to become that representative. And it is in moments like that that have shaped me as a trade unionist and now as a politician, when there was an absence of persons coming forward to stand on behalf of others. I say, well, I would go.
I want to ask you a spiritual question. Do you think it was a spiritual call? Do you think you were destined for this role?
I do not want to arrogate to myself some divinity. I must say that one would come to recognize that the thing that keeps you going, even when you should go no further, it is a spirit within you that says you must. You must. And I remember a part of scripture that says, Christ, for the joy that was set before him, endured the cross. There's something that will keep you going even when you're facing a cross. So I would say definitely, if it's not a spiritual call, then the one who would have called me has to definitely be spiritual. Because Watson Jew, could have let go a long time ago. But you kept going in spite of the cross. Because somewhere along the line, you believe that at the end of this journey, if you stick to it, you would produce a lot of smiles on faces that are currently unhappy and that once were unhappy.
But besides that, remember, you're also a family man, you're also a husband, you're also a father, and they are also victims sometimes of the abuse.
Certainly.
I know there would be days when you feel like, why did I choose something like this? Were there any time, any point in your life that you felt as though you made a mistake, that you felt as though this was not your call, that you feel as though, listen, I want to throw in the hat because there's too much blows? Were there moments like those when probably your wife tell you, Watson, leave it alone, let somebody else fight for the people, or your children say, Daddy, we are being victimized in school? Were there moments like that?
It is something that we would have measured and sized up even from the beginning. And we counted the cost, and one know fully well that once you get into this type of battle, persons would attack you. They would attack your family. They would attack every single thing about you, your friends, even those who associate with you. But you recognize it's part of the cause. You have to go through that, because there's no way you can be successful if you do not face opposition. A kite rises not with the wind, but against the wind. And so I have learned to be very successful in the face of opposition. So when opposition comes my way, attack comes my way, I consider it to be winds I should not allow to go waste. I set my sail and I mount.
For other persons that may be watching, other leaders that may be watching, because we are molding the mind also of young leaders, aspiring leaders who may be looking on. I will go back again to Jesus. They tried to vilify Jesus as a common criminal. Imagine that. Jesus Christ.
Yes.
They did the same for Nelson Mandela. They did the same to William Wilberforce. But when that burden was laid upon you, what took you through?
God. I must admit that it was my spiritual upbringing. It would have kept me grounded. I never felt like letting go. I know I cannot go at any point in time, because there is nothing in this for me personally. But I choose not to let go, because what is in this for me also too. And what is in this for me is the smiles on faces. The satisfaction that comes from knowing I did represent my people. To not have persons to represent you is to be in a very bad place. Persons in the courthouse need them, persons in the church need them, persons in the hospital need them. A representative is one who speaks on your behalf, who acts on your behalf, and it's very, very important that in society someone takes up that role. If you go to a restaurant, the one who serves you is your representative. They will convert what you have said into food, into a drink, into maybe more AC. So it's a life of service. And there's nothing that is more beneficial in serving than to know that those who you are serving are most happy. And ask me if they're happy, well, I would think they're happy based on my success in the trade union movement and my success in the political arena. My support never dwindled, it grew, and it grew with the attacks. So I'm saying the more they attack me, the more persons have come to believe in my leadership.
When we talk about titles and we talk about leadership, we are also talking about some level of humility. And that is what you demonstrated. And in the last election of December 2021,
Certainly.
when most persons weren't expecting it, and they said, well, Watson Duke is going to take that position as the chief of Tobago House of Assembly.
Yeah.
You did the ultimate. You did the ultimate because you said, here is the man,
Yeah.
and that man was not you. What was going through your head at that time for you to delegate such responsibility, which is the mark of a true leader?
And let me just put it succinctly for you that the constitution of the PDP allows for the political leader to occupy the position of chief secretary. That's it. There's no competition where that is concerned. The political leader must become chief secretary. He, however, can choose not to accept it and to give it to whomsoever he pleases. So it's not that a big decision was made. No, it's a decision personally I made. You can only give the position after the journey of the election. So when the votes were counted up, you had 14. That's the only time the Constitution states the decision can be made. And I maintain, even before the votes came in, that Fali Chavez Augustine would be the chief secretary. Because I felt to myself that you have to have succession planning, you have to encourage youth, and if you really want to explore other areas, you must be able to allow someone to manage that area. So I didn't want to be everything. There are other areas I wanted to explore. So I spoke to him quite early o'clock and I said, look, I'm going to Trinidad. I want you to occupy this position. That was our private conversation that took place since 2019. Since 2019, we have had that conversation. And since that time, I had been touting that he would become the next chief secretary. He didn't have to do anything. I had to give it to him. And I gave it to him in humility because I felt to myself he would do a good job. And so far, I think he's doing a fantastic job.
Leadership, the mark of true leadership. Now, delegating such responsibility is somewhat one that needs to be emulated by leaders of today. I will go a step further. Tobago loves you. And Trinidad, I will almost say, need your God. Walking the street of Trinidad with him, I saw like every other taxi driver salute you. I saw people coming out of the car, causing traffic on the road, coming up just to touch you. And it was almost like a biblical moment. And I said, listen, the people has made you into their hero. So despite the smear campaigns that was sent, that they pelt, that will continue to try,
Indeed.
You have been vindicated by the ones in which you serve, and that is your people.
It feels great, to know that the greatest trial is an individual versus the state. Or they will say, the individual versus the people. And in the eyes of the people, they have vindicated me. And I feel proud that when I walk the streets, they know who I am. I do not live in a cocoon. I do not live a private life. My life is a public life. So everything I do is seen. I'm like one of those fishes in that clear tank. You could see my every single move, you know it. But while I'm human, I think my commitment is towards human beings. And I would say it's never towards myself, because I could have given up a long time ago in the trade union. I stuck it out. The things I want for workers in this country is phenomenal. Under my watch, I've never lose any single segment of my workers. 80,000 workers, they're all protected under my watch.
Under your watch as well, was it $50 billion that you brought to the working class citizen? Yeah.
Under my watch, I brought perhaps about $10 billion in salaries to the working class. I was able to bring a $3 million health plan, group health plan to them, not only for the workers, but for their spouses and their children. I was able to make over 10,000 workers permanent. We increased their salaries. Even when oil dropped, we increased their salaries to like some 14%. They got over 300 homes. I actually distribute homes that we didn't build. HTC built. We got the right to give public officers homes, and we gave them homes. And so I would say that I made the most of my time serving my people. I know that I've left not because I had no option. I left so I could grow and go and become on top, so I could release some of the pressure upon them. After 9 years, not receiving an increase, the working class has been sidelined. Their issues are now on the wayside. No one takes on the issues of the workers. But every single mother, father, son, daughter, they are a worker. They belong to the working class. And they need someone to say that you are doing a good job. Though it can be better in some areas, but you need to have a salary that values what you are doing. And they have not been treated that way, so therefore the service is being depreciated. They feel valueless. And I feel that the time has come when we must not have to argue over this. We must give workers their just due. I left with that in mind, and I intend to address that issue at a different place when I get on top.
I see you as a Marxist, a neo-Marxist. Now, for young persons that are watching on and aspiring to be young leaders in their own rights, would you say a leader is one that should be feared? Would you say a leader is one that should use the big stick colonial master approach? Would you say a leader is one that should bully people into subservience? What would you say is the mark of a leader that one must try to emulate?
A leader must first of all understand his people. Because the word represent means to represent. So you must first understand your people. And so in my life, as a trade unionist and a politician, I've seen people come against me in the worst and vilest of manner, and I have no hate to them. I could sit, I could talk with them, because it is to understand them. And once you could understand people, then you could now represent them in the way they should be represented, and that is representation. Oftentimes, people like children don't even understand their own concerns, and they're crying out, they're hating at you, but really it's their father they hate, who treated them badly, and they see their father inside of you, or it's a neighbor they hate, or something like that. And so you have to understand the trauma, you know what I mean? You have to understand what these people are dealing with. Maybe the way you walk, the way you dress, the way you smile, something triggering off something in them. And we have to come to understand these people. And only when you understand people, you can truly represent. The first thing I will say is understanding your crowd, understanding your people. I understood the public servants. I never lost an election. I understood the Tobago people. I won. I understand Trinidadians. Very good. Very good. I worked here, I live here, and I think I'm not ready to represent them, to represent them in a better life. They're often seen as lazy, good for nothing, gimme. I see them as persons, if given the opportunity, they will make good of it. I see them as persons who are transformative in their thinking, persons who are naturally innovative and committed. I see them as among the best in the world. And they must be given a platform to exercise it. I see your business community as also among the best in the world, but they lack the opportunity to diversify in the economy. I see it every single day.
Yes. In terms of the level of empowerment I want to speak about, because a leader is one that empowers. We see that with you. But do you think that leaders of today, leaders in our society in Trinidad and Tobago, looking back for that youth culture, do you think that the leaders in our society, not mentioning any of them, but in a generalized sense, do you think that the leaders are understanding their responsibility and accountability to the young, aspiring leaders that are coming up? Do you think that more needs to be done by leaders of our nation?
I think more needs to be done. I think they do not understand the responsibility that has been thrust upon them by virtue of being called a leader or being placed in a leadership position. And a lot of persons who are placed in a leadership position or called leaders are not really leaders. They are persons who are big in power, big in authority, and they like the glory that goes with it. But there's nothing about leadership that is really pretty, except those that you're representing. There is nothing about leadership that is pretty except those you are representing. I oftentimes ask myself, if not me, then who? If not me, then who? That's why it's difficult for leaders to follow anyone. You yourself are a leader, and you will only follow someone who you believe represent your core beliefs, and then you will follow that person. So leaders today have a challenge in having core beliefs. They are more seeing themselves as persons sitting on top and dominating and suppressing people and having people to do as I say, punishing them, rather than inspiring hope and causing people to follow them. I oftentimes say, once you are leading people, you are asking those people to trust you. You are asking those people to willingly follow you. And when they follow you, they could choose to unfollow you. Just like Facebook, just like Instagram, just like TikTok. They choose to follow and they have the power to unfold. Look at our leaders. Are they leading and leading and leading? No. Most of the leaders in today's society are being unfollowed. Are being unfollowed. Are being unfollowed. The youth, however, their following are growing on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, because they have a message. Though it may seem funny, underlying the funny message is a real message. And we have to understand that the language of speaking to youth, the language of empowering, the language of motivating, of setting your heart on fire and passion has changed. It's not, it's not that.
You almost sound like a pit bull there, boy.
Yeah, it's not that. You can't be that. You have to be gentle. And people must want to follow you. You mustn't command the following. Let them choose to follow you. And that's what makes you a true leader.
What message do you have for that young man that is watching the television right now that may not have come from a privileged family, that may feel as though he wants to give up, that may feel as though life has been unfair to him? What message do you have for that young girl that probably was stigmatized and labeled as no good, come from probably an impoverished background, that feel as though aspiring to a position such as yours is one of grandeur and wealth? What message do you have for that middle-aged man or that older man that may feel unsatisfied with his life and his legacy, that life probably cheated him? What message do you have for that woman, that mother, that grandmother? What message do you have for those persons that are looking at you right now? How can you impact their life with your last words? What message would you give to such persons?
The young man, the young woman, the father, the mother, the grandpa, grandmother, whoever you refer yourself to or as, I want to say that if you have a life, if you're hearing this message, you have every single thing. Every single thing. The dead is dead. But you who are alive, you have a life. And I've always learned, in addition to that, that you are your last hope. It takes you to give up on you. It takes you to cause others to believe in you. So believe in yourself, and others will believe in you. If you doubt yourself, people are going to doubt you. No one life is perfect, but neither mine nor Kizal's. No one life is perfect. But if you truly believe you can do it, you can. I am living proof. Living proof. Too many stories to tell. But you have seen me be knocked down, and I come right back up. You knock me down, and I come back up. Knock me down, and I come back up. Because if I have life, I have everything. And I never give up on myself. You have heard them spoken the worst about me. Talk about Duke like a dog, as if he has no mother, no father, as if he's an animal. But here am I smiling. It's not reflected in my face, nor in my language, nor in my conduct. Because if you have a life, you have everything. Life. Life is important. Treat it as valuable, and you're going to be okay.
Thank you, Mr. Duke.